we had fallen into disrepair, and it had gotten to the point where we were separated. I was living in San Antonio, and he had gone back to live in Washington, D.C. You know, I think some people are lucky in that they grow up with great role models for how to be a couple. And to be honest, we got married very young. I was 23, he was 25. And we didn't have great role models on how to be a couple. We were young ourselves. And honestly, this taught us how to argue and communicate like adults. So I started doing it, and without realizing it, I started doing it down the Lone Ranger path. And then got to the point where I said, you know, we've been married for 23 years at that point, and I said, I basically called him and said, I'm coming to DC, and you owe me this. It's 7 weeks. You owe me this.
And I thought, you know what, she's right. I do owe her that. And honestly, I didn't have a lot of hope for this program. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I said, I'll give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. And the more I got into it, the more I realized that it was making a lot of sense for us. I think what kept me going was just that I needed to invest the time. Before I threw away 23 years of marriage and my life partner, I needed to put the time in to make sure that was what I wanted to do. And on some level, I knew that's absolutely not what I wanted to do. So I mean, we did every exercise, and every night we read what we were supposed to read and followed through. And so I just needed to do that.
We had tried marriage counseling. We had gone to, you know, the PhDs, and we had gone to the MDs, and we had individually and together, and it always ended the same way. It ended with me angry at him and him more convinced. And clearly with the things that the Fertels went through and then came out on the other end stronger, gave him an insight, has to have given him an insight that I just don't think you can get otherwise.
For me, you said, what's the difference between marriage counseling and marriage fitness? It's being actively involved in fixing the problem, identifying and fixing the problem, instead of sitting there listening to somebody tell you what the issue is. We tried that, and you can nod in the session and go, okay, yeah, that makes sense, but I don't want to say you're not invested. Yeah, you're not engaged. You're not the one doing the hard work, figuring out what the issue is and fixing it. With marriage fitness, it was on us to do that. You know, we would each night sit there and go through the exercise or read the chapter and discuss it, and there were some hard questions and some hard topics, and so it's something we built together.
You know, individually we tell people, when we hear friends, when we hear acquaintances that are having troubles with their marriage, we always talk about Mort. And we thought, if we're doing this, it'd be nice to just publicly say, you know, thank you, and this is a relationship that would not have continued, absolutely would not have continued, had it not been for him.
Before something starts to get out of control, it's that ability to take a look at, what am I doing that will make this worse? What am I doing what am I not doing that could help fix it or stop it before it snowballs? So that's what I get out of a lot of Mort's writings, is exactly like you said, is to take the time to say, to focus on me, not necessarily the external environment. You know, stop reacting to it and figure out what you can do to make it better. Sitting down and making us write out our vision statement for our marriage and the mission statement, and framing that and hanging it on the wall so you see it every morning. That's a keystone for me of this program.
We do. We have them. He had them printed and framed, and they hang in our closet where we go every single morning, and so we can look at what makes a strong relationship in our eyes and what a relationship should be striving towards for us.
Right. I would say, Mort, thank you very much. We would not be sitting here today if it weren't for you.
And I would say exactly the same thing.